Committee's meeting to order. I just first want to start off by thanking everybody for joining tonight via Zoom. I know we've been meeting in person, but this kind of, I think, gives a little more opportunity for people to join us. Included in our meeting today, I want to welcome Councilman Fox and Councilwoman Robinson from the ad hoc committee that we've been working with, and I'm just glad they were able to join us this evening, kind of continue the conversation and the work that we've been doing with them. So welcome. And first thing we're going to do is I am going to turn the meeting over to Mike. You want to spearhead us into
Sure.
the conversation this evening?
Yeah, thank you, Louisa. So, the first item on the agenda, we have 4 items. We'll start with the city council members so they can get back to their business as well this evening. We'll move on to a few motions about the completion of some recent school construction projects. We'll give a little update on building repairs and maintenance. And that'll really be about it for the meeting. So without further ado, I'll pass to Councilwoman Robinson and Councilman Fox.
Great, thank you guys for the invite. I think we've had pretty good success so far with our ad hoc committee. I think, we're trying to figure out a way to navigate how much authority we have to talk about certain things. So we had the ad hoc approved by the city council for things that I think that we decide as a joint agenda between Dr. Casimiro and the committee members. So we appreciate all the collaboration on it. Our next meeting, we're trying to schedule, I think, for the 3rd week of March. It's been tough with schedules, but hopefully we can get a report out from the sites and facilities directors from both sides. I have received some emails from constituents asking what the progress has been since the April 2024 meetings with all of the high school students that came and spoke in public comment. So I do think we've made some progress there. And of course, I'm happy to hear from Rich Jalbert if he has any difference of opinion. So nothing too much to report, but I think we'll have a positive meeting. We'll have to go back to the city council in April to get the ad hoc extended further and provide a report out. So our next meeting will be basically updates, making sure that we're all on the same page with what we'd be reporting out on and then what we want to continue doing in the ad hoc in the future. So I don't know if Councilman Fox has anything further he'd like to add or if I left anything out.
No, I think, and I apologize for the camera being off. I'm still driving home, but I appreciate the invitation to be at the meeting today and for all the efforts of everyone involved and for Chairwoman Robinson for organizing the committee. I think we made a lot of progress and a lot of really productive communication, some conversations that have been very overdue in having, and I'm just looking forward to the work that the committee and the board are going to do in the future to just ensure that we have the best system we can have going forward. Thanks a lot. I appreciate everyone's input and the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you. And as Luis, I just want to extend any questions that this committee might have or anything they want to be brought up in ad hoc. I think that the point is to have it be as much of a collaboration as we can, meaning that it's not, a dictation from me or any of the committee members as to what we want to talk about or what our basis for talking about something would be. So obviously it's always an open invitation for topics, for suggestions, for questions and comments. So again, thank you all.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Does anybody on the committee have any questions for our ad hoc representatives here today?
I do.
Go ahead, Juanita.
Hi, Holly. I'm Juanita Harris, and on the board. Holly, I just need to emphasize to the ad hoc committee, one of the things that we've stressed district-wide, and I think everybody is in agreement, is the safety issues of our students, staff, families, but especially our school campuses. And that was certainly addressed while I was at the high school when they did the additional fencing, because individuals could walk right on the campus. It was a big security issue. That same thing has come up again at a number of our other schools, but mainly at our King Street school. And in our last meeting with our sites and facilities, had asked that be an issue. Certainly, if there are council members who are representing that school area, it would behoove them to take a look at that campus where anyone can walk in onto the campus without approaching the front door and be right at the playground with the children. So I'm hoping that the ad hoc committee has also addressed a number of the safety issues that need to go on. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that forward. We will certainly be happy to talk about it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Any non-committee members? No? Okay, great. Again, thank you so much, Holly, Irving, for coming tonight. Do appreciate the all that you guys have been doing, just opening up that communication between us. I think we've done a lot. And I think that we're going to continue at least to have those conversations and try to figure out how the best way to navigate through them. Dr. Casimiro, did you want to say anything?
I did. I appreciate the open door. Like as Juanita pointed out, we definitely have some hot spots that need to get taken care of sooner than later. One of the things that I know, and I think Antonio mentioned it, the last time he spoke over at City Hall, the need to do kind of a comprehensive analysis. There's the things that we have to get done kind of right away that are safety issues. And then there's the, short-term, medium-term, and longer-term projects. And I welcome, figuring out the best way to approach that without breaking the bank on a massive assessment protocol. So, wondering if maybe when things, reach a place where both our facilities folks can meet with the city's facilities folks to maybe do some walkthroughs together to have those conversations and even just sort of rank order the projects that we need. I think between the expertise that we have on both sides, we could probably figure it out, and create a list. So, perhaps the next time that we meet, I think we are talking about facilities specifically, and that might be a great topic for the group to address in the near term.
Yeah, perfect. And I think that if we can put together a timeline I know Antonio has mentioned that they do have some of the expertise to probably figure out just amongst the institutional knowledge between what Rich has and then what Sean and Antonio have in their heads. We can probably start our own bucket list and then figure out what we need a professional consultant for. But obviously, highest risk, easiest things to resolve, we need to get done. And if there are things that are obviously urgent and important, I think those can be addressed before each meeting. And before waiting a month to sit down and talk about it, let's figure out a way to make sure that communication is open so that the urgent things are handled instead of waiting for us to be able to schedule something as a group.
Great. Okay.
I would just like to add and thank you all, and we are grateful for the ad hoc to sort of open the lines of communication that over the course of years have been challenged, and I do feel like they're probably better now, certainly since any time that I've been here. But I think people that have been here longer than me would attest that they're probably better now than they have been at any point in the last 5 to 10 years. And I do want to say that we do speak with them on probably a daily basis. So we're constantly identifying issues, flagging issues, catching work orders in the wild that have either not been closed out or have been waiting on a part and it's just kind of expired. And that is a daily conversation that we have. And Rich and I have even spoken about some of the issues that have come up in board meetings or even in the ad hoc sessions about some of the new updates that have coming up that we're doing to the schools. And I think, Louise, if you don't mind, it might be better if we just jump to number 3, since this is sort of a natural segue into some building updates, and then we can jump back into number 2. So if everybody's good on item number 1, we can start talking about the updates, and obviously the council members are welcome to join us for the rest of the conversation.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right, I'll pass to Rich, and he's got a quick list of a few recent things. And this is really just, I guess, about 3, 4 weeks now since we last met. There's been a few upgrades and updates with some of our recent projects. You're muted, Rich. Let me see if I can do it.
That helps.
There you go.
Okay, so we did complete the cabinets installed in room 11 at Pembroke, room 19 at Pembroke. Actually, I have it reversed. Room 19 is complete. Room 11, we're probably a week out from getting the cabinets and the sink installed. If you walk around Pembroke School, we have a lot of 50, 60-year-old cabinets that need replacing. So I'm going to continue to work on getting pricing to replace that, you know, for the next few years. We've done some major reorganization at our warehouse to, you know, help facilitate, you know, during the school year, we get several deliveries up to like 15, 20 pallets of computers, and it's like Grand Central Station. So it's a lot easier now to work out of there. I'm working on getting pricing for flooring replacement at Millridge Primary and King Street Intermediate. For those of you that have been on the committee a few years, I've been doing one pot a year, and so this will complete those 2 schools and will allow me to go on to some other schools. You know, Broadview Middle School, the guidance counselor area is one of them that I want to target. Also, I've spoken to Mike some ideas about King Street for the fencing. So I think we have a short-term fix and a longer-term fix. You know, one idea, and I want to meet with the principal before I go ahead and do this, is sort of like what they did at the high school, is to put a gate across that left front entrance, which would prohibit anybody just walking into the playground area.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, and I know we've talked extensively about it and revisited the school and taken a look at some of those areas. So we've been able to make a few quick repairs in the interim, but then obviously we're planning on a much longer term fix that'll keep that area secure and safe for years to come. So thank you for getting on top of that, and of course we're working side by side with the city on that one, because you know, perimeter fencing is a city responsibility, but obviously we want to, you know, work hand in hand with them if that would expedite the process and help us get it up there more quickly. So I appreciate you getting on top of that, Rich. And then one other thing I just wanted to add to Rich's comments. The big thing now that's looming is, of course, our move. DHS West is coming, and that is not you know, just unlocking the doors and letting kids in. There is some very complex maneuvers that have to happen. We're consolidating administrative buildings. There's things that are coming into the warehouse that will eventually go back over there. There's teachers moving. I think 68 or 70 teachers at last count from DHS will be moving from the high school into that building. Once they're vacated from the high school, there's going to be a reorganization within the high school so that the floors are all set up by academy model. So once those rooms are vacated, we have to clean up those rooms, reconfigure them with the appropriate furniture, and then move teachers even internally within DHS so that, you know, each academy has its own floor, and they're operating sort of in their own cores. So there's a really some complex things coming up here, not to mention just files, things like you know, we have you know, mountains of files throughout the district, and some of the retention policies require us to keep those for up to 50 years in some cases. So we have, you know, files dating back to, you know, the 1970s that we have to consolidate into Rich's warehouse. And some of those might be in the school offices, some of those might be in district offices. So while we're doing all this, we're going through a bit of a file reorg too, and also clearing out some of the ones that have passed that expiration date. So there's a lot of moving parts as we go forward, and Rich's team is really just you know, taking control of these things, making sure the warehouse is equipped to take on more, that we have a better organization system there, you know, record keeping system, all that, all the things that go with that. So, yeah, there's a lot happening in sites and facilities that a lot of people won't see and probably won't make it into a lot of our conversations because it's really not that exciting. But it's, you know, it's all the, you know, the sort of behind the scenes churn that's going to make this thing happen. And it's going to make those classrooms ready to roll in August. So, Juanita, your hand's up. Sorry.
Go ahead, Juanita.
Thank you. I had to unmute. I need to go back to Rich's report. And, but before I do, I just want to add, Mike, that I understand that a lot of the things may sound boring, behind the scenes, but this is what our committee is about. So I'd like to a little bit more than just you know, a little bit more detail. And so let me give you a little bit of an example. I'll go back to Rich's report, and it's supposed to be an update on what is happening at the schools. Now, if there's another committee member who knows more about it, wonderful. Maybe I missed something. So we talked about Pembroke, we talked about room 19, and it is complete. When we go to our minutes, what does that mean? And what are we reporting back that is complete? So to me, that overview does not tell us anything of what work was done and completed. Room 11, I believe, Rich, you said that the cabinets were installed, the sinks were installed. And is that what was on the work order? So that makes it complete. I'd like to see a little bit more in your reporting. One of those rooms, Rich, if I'm not mistaken, we had talked about in our last meeting as having been closed down since September. Is it reopened? Has the issues, what issues have been addressed, and what exactly has been completed to close out that ticket?
So room 11 has been reopened. We set up a temporary situation, so I believe the principal is using that for music. And that's until we can get the cabinets in, which should be another week or two.
Okay, so yeah, I'll have to, certainly that is the administrator's call, what to use their rooms for. Just to note that that was a full-time classroom. Okay, so that's room 11. I'm sorry, was that room 11?
That's room 11, and room 19
so-
is totally complete.
And so when you say totally complete, what does that include?
They installed the cabinets and the sink, so it's a fully functional classroom.
Okay. Okay, and so is there more work to do in the room that's being used for music, temporary?
The only work remaining is to install the cabinets in the sink.
Do we have a time? Okay, all right, thank you.
There you go.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Juanita.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mike. Did you have anything more, Mike?
That's really about it. And I just want to extend to Board Member Harris, you know, feel free to reach out if you need an additional level of detail. You know, we generally don't prepare that level of detail for these meetings. I'm happy to for certain projects going forward. But if there's something that we just don't have time to get to, or, you know, for whatever reason can't address in this body, you know, feel free to reach out to my office and I can get you additional information.
Well, especially, Mike, when we've had stuff on the agenda in the past. And so looking for updates on those specific items. And I don't think that having to say that the project was complete, that to me is not a report. A report is, this was the project, this is what is done, the work order has now been closed out. So I'm not looking for details on, you know, a faucet that was fixed, or a water fountain in the hallway that was fixed. But when we have things that are on our agenda and you put down building repairs and maintenance updates, it could be much more clearer. And I'm not asking you to give a 3-page report on each one, but certainly more than complete. And so that's what I am looking for as a member of the sites and facilities. And I don't know what was done in the past, and we'll leave that in the past, but hopefully going forward, we will certainly have more details.
Thank you, Anita.
I think, Mike, we can, maybe make a more of a, specific list of items we want to discuss in the future. I know that you have a lot that goes on in the district. I know we have the list we could be here for hours going over all of the things that, need to be done or working on, or, work orders. And I don't want to bog down this committee with just reviewing work orders at every meeting. I think we need to really just highlight some of the more important things that we need to talk about, and maybe we could do that for Juanita. If you have specific items that you want to address, you can text me and we can kind of review them and put them specific, so that way the committee has what they're looking for, if that works.
I'm not sure that that's a solution when this committee is called Sites and Facilities. So for specific issues, and then those issues saying, well, they need to be raised in executive session, no.
Well, the only thing that there was only certain items that we do put into executive session, and that is at the request of obviously district and what we feel to be items that we can only discuss in executive committee, but that doesn't, but that's separate. I mean, there's plenty that we can discuss in committee that we can do in regular session.
So I guess what I hear you saying is, if there are no issues, then we will not meet. If no one has come or submitted to you or to the committee.
No. What I'm saying, if there is something in particular that you would like to discuss, then let me know. Otherwise, I usually discuss with the district office items that we need to put on the agenda. But if there's something in particular that you would like to talk about, then yes, come to me so I can get it on the agenda. Michelle, did you have a question?
Yeah, I know that a couple of months back, we had talked about finally getting access to pulling work orders and combining a system. It was mentioned several months back. I was a little surprised because we hadn't talked about it. We had talked about doing it for a long time. Have we combined? Are we able to now pull a work order summary? What does that look like? I agree with Juanita in the sense that, just having come back after the summer and hearing the updates that we received, it was clearly not inclusive of everything that had been done, significant capital projects in particular. So when Juanita says, I'm going back and I'm looking at a document, and it says it was completed, having experience as well, like, was there a punch out list? Were they completed? I understand we put in the cabinets, we caulked, we went, it's finished, that's great. Great for us to know that those students are in the classroom, but do we have a better handle on aging reports regarding open work order items? This has been a question for several years now. I'm just wondering where we are with that.
Yeah, Mike, can you address the
Sure.
whole update system and all of that?
Yeah, thanks. So a little over a year ago, and Rich, jump in here if I'm missing anything, we launched a new work order system called Operations Hero. That has addressed nearly 95% of the questions that we used to get about where problems are and how far along, and has it been addressed, and are they waiting for a part. That is a real-time order system. And I would venture to say, I don't know, Rich, hundreds of things go in and out of there on a daily or probably weekly basis. Everything from light bulbs to broken windows to major things, right? Like, boilers that need repair and major systems. Now that system does have a sort of terminus because once a project needs to be triaged over to the city side, we then have to pick it up. So we have somebody in Rich's office doing that triage, and then they will put it into the city's work order system. And then we manage those projects separately and then try to update our system in real time. It's not a perfect system. It's certainly not the most efficient system, but it's miles beyond where we were even a year ago at this time. But like I was saying, there's hundreds of work orders that go in and out of this thing on a weekly basis. So at any moment, that you could take a snapshot of this system, there's probably, I don't know, 1,000 or something work orders that could be active. And within an hour of doing a printout of that sheet, that would be, that list would probably be obsolete or incorrect because so many of these things are changing at a rapid clip. So we do have much better information than we ever had. And I do think it is improving our response time. It's improving the information. It's certainly limiting the questions that we get asked because every principal has their own portal. They can just go log into it. They can check all their work orders and check the status of an update. So it has made some tremendous efficiencies for Rich's office, but the district as a whole. And we've got some really good feedback from the principals about it. So again, it's far from perfect system, but it's much better than where we were.
So I was under the impression that when that system was going to come out, we would at least get to see maybe what that looks like. Like, I understand that there is transitions between the city and the Board of Education, and one picks one up and one, but as a sites and facilities, we don't know. We don't have that information. We don't even know what it looks like. Is there any possible way that we could actually see like an aging report? And is that report broken out in such a way where you have capital improvements and then you could have 1,000 line items,
Yeah.
but let's say 400 or a water faucet or caulking a hole, like
Yeah.
how can we see the report and actually get a real understanding of what we have before us on sites and facilities? Because
Yeah.
we talk about certain things. I changed a tile here or there,
Right.
but we never get a full comprehensive list of
Yeah.
what's outstanding. And when you have it broken out through grants, like for instance, for the pavilion, that was an overcrowding specific grant that you had mentioned or funding. Like,
Yeah.
how is it get broken down? How do we get the information?
Yeah. These are all fair questions. So the system that we have isn't really designed to do that. And again, Rich, I mean, it's just really like the light bulb's out, submit the work order, let's get it changed. Did it get done? Yes or no? How long did it take? I think the question you're asking is really more about what we're trying to accomplish with the ad hoc committee that Holly and Irving were just speaking about, where we're trying to get a more comprehensive view of all of our buildings, where they would do a facility study and then they would come in and they'd say, okay, this roof was installed in 2005. Lifespan of a roof is 30 years, so you've got 10 years left on it. And then you do this with all your buildings across all your essential systems, your roofs, your electronics, your plumbing, your windows. And then coming up, okay, in the next bond, we got a plan for these 5 projects because we need new windows here and we need, a new roof over here. And I think that's what we're really building towards with, we're sort of, our internal shorthand for it is, really a sort of like a, Kara, I think you called it a 2040 plan. We have this sort of longer view of what we're trying to do, but that is certainly the next step of this. The system I'm talking about that doesn't do that. The system I'm talking about is really, it's for quick changes, maintenance, repairs, things that we're going to sort of capture in real time. But you're absolutely right, Michelle. We need that, and we need it in a comprehensive way so that we can see what's coming in 5 years. We can see when the roofs are going to need replacement. We can see, when the bathrooms are going to need to be upgraded, and we can see the whole thing laid out and just know how much we're going to need to spend over the next 15, 20 years. You're absolutely right. And I think that's the big goal here of the ad hoc committee, is to get everybody together and put these plans in place.
Mike, to give an example with the work order system, I'll give you, for instance, so with Ellsworth over the past year or two, we've received, work orders for leaky ceilings. And at some point, once Public Buildings determined that they needed to replace the roof, and that was going to be a capital project, we're more or less, we're told don't bother putting in work orders. They would just close the work order out because it wasn't fixable and it was on capital. So the work order system doesn't really show a portrait of what's on capital improvement list.
If I can just, if I can just add in, I remember initially when the Sites and Facilities Committee was given the information on this new work order system. Initially, we had thought that there could be a combination of the city work order system with the Danbury Public School all going into one program. And it was decided that that probably would not work. And so this new system was introduced to the Sites and Facilities Committee and to the Board of Ed. Since that time, we have never been given an overview of how the system is working,
Mhm.
if it is doing what we said it was needed to do, and what type of data it would be able to capture. And so when we talk about 10 years out and 5 years out, is this a system that by going through the work orders, we can, because of what's deteriorating at a particular school, that becomes the priority because of the number of work orders, et cetera, any type of data. But we never came back to the table
Mhm.
to even discuss how this, what was recommended to the board, how it's working, what it is doing, what it can capture. Yes, it's doing what we said, and thank you so much for approving it. So I'm a little concerned because I've asked over and over for an update of this new system that was put in place. So there's a little disappointment on my part with this committee, in that still to date has not been addressed with the committee nor the board.
Mike, do you want to address the system?
Yeah, I think so. So if I'm hearing this right, are you asking you would like to see a live demo of the system?
Mike, when the system was introduced to the committee and to the board, it was introduced as a program that was needed to capture and work with our district school systems, bringing in work orders. Certainly, it would be more efficient. It would be more timely. It would.
Yes.
I want to, and so I've asked, can we please have an update? How is the system working? We approved the system. Would it, sure, you can come and demonstrate and capture, but wouldn't it have been nice to have come back to the table and say, and I'm not saying thank you very much to the board, but this is working well. It was a good program to approve. The reason being, this is what it captures. This is what it does in real time. We found it to be efficient. No, not 100%, but certainly better than we've had in the past because, and you detail out. What I am saying is it was introduced, it was approved, we've asked for an update, and there's been silence.
Okay. So my understanding was, all right. Sorry, Louisa, were you gonna jump?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm not on, I thought that you had given the update, but maybe I'm missing something. Cause I just thought that that's what you just gave the
Yeah,
update.
Okay,
right.
but
When we
But I'm not
talk
sure
about,
what you're looking for, Juanita. Like, what more
That-
information do you want?
listen to me, Louisa. That was approved a year and a half ago, right? Look at where we are now. That yes, the update was just given, just given, right? Is that I'm sure you're saying, well, he's giving you the information tonight. That request went in way before tonight, and So I'm just voicing my concern that it was never addressed. We approved a system. Um, it did not come back to the table to talk about its efficiency, um, how it's being used. Yes, it's working well, blah, blah, blah. N- So yeah, that's my concern. And again, I'm not asking for excuses to come to the table or anything like that. I am just saying, as we move forward and we approve programs and based on this is what it will do, this is what it will produce, then the natural expectation is at some point you're going to come back, especially when it's asked about, with that information.
Kara, go ahead.
Yeah, and no, and I understand the concern, Juanita. I think for what was on the agenda for tonight, I think, in the future moving forward, certainly it's a good thing to say, hey, it'd be great to get an update on the inner workings of the system and what we're doing. And I think that would be a good thing to put on an agenda as a standalone item so it gets addressed. As far as tonight goes, I think, it was my understanding that it was an update on some of the more outstanding items that were raised, which I understand you want more detail. Totally understand that. But I think that how the Operation Hero program works is certainly something that can be done, and certainly, easy enough thing to do to incorporate into future agendas for sure. I just don't know if it was clear that was the intent, was to have that conversation tonight in this, but certainly is a worthy topic to discuss in the future as a standalone item, I think.
And just to that point is we have these discussions in the past and they're never kind of go back to, do you know what I mean? So it's been discussed, it's been asked, and so it's almost like I have to dig back through the minutes to say, gee, did we ever go back to that and pick that up? And what happened with that? So yeah, thank you very much. We can move on.
Michelle?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so I think I had started the conversation with the same issues. Like when I was responsible for warranty for development, right? There was an aging report. We should have access to see what that looks like instead of having a conversation of saying, oh, that, we took care of this. We should be able to go back like we do in policy and say, we revised all these policies. We did this. Like we should be able to go back and look at a list of what has been completed, in some sort of order. Or if we have an aging report, it should say, okay, some items are nonsense, but then you have different, these are alert, right? This is a step 3, or this is out for a year, and we understand why. But we at this point as a committee, and I've been on it and I ran it, I'm still asking the same questions that Juanita is asking. We want to see the information in our hands, not just a conversation, but what does this report look like? How often, like, have we improved it by 10%? Our goals in warrant, like, what is our goal?
Let me
What
ask,
are we doing?
let me ask a question. In this
Mhm.
system, what goes in there? Is it capital projects or is it just your day-to-day maintenance, changing the light bulb, fixing the leaky bathroom?
It is
That's all
purely
that's
day to day.
okay, so that's day to day. So that's not gonna give us that big broader look of what the big repairs are and the big things that need to be done. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're asking for two separate things here. If you want to know about the day-to-day just maintenance, that's what the system is going to show us is, how many leaky bathrooms we have, how many light bulbs need to, the small mundane minutia.
Right, and right. And
That's fine. Well, let me finish.
we're only finding this out
If
right
we,
now.
if we want, well,
Like you just clarified that right now. We are
Right.
just trying, and that's what we're talking about.
right,
This
now,
is it.
the other stuff, which is what we're trying to get and what the city is talking about, getting that comprehensive study will give us a bigger picture of across the district, all the work that needs to get done and where it plans out over the next 5, 10, 15 years. Am I correct?
Correct. And that process of doing that, I mean, because you're talking about teams going into multiple buildings, doing
Right.
assessments of systems, you
Correct.
know, trying to do research on when something was repaired. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars to establish a report
Correct.
that you could then build a system out of. And Rich, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it probably might even be more than that, especially a district our size. We're talking 20, 21 buildings. You
Probably
know,
Okay.
So,
about
that's-
$1 million.
so I'm just trying to
and that
separate.
could-
yeah.
Go ahead.
Now, granted, I would love to have that report. And if I, you know, because there are companies that will take these reports, put them into a dashboard, and then send you, you know, reminders, you know, every 6 months about what you have upcoming, and then say, you know, and here's the cost that's probably going to run you. You might want to think about putting this in your next budget. You might want to think.
Yep.
I would absolutely love to have that at our fingertips.
Right.
We just don't have it. And you know, the last time that was done was, I mean, it was long before I got here. It was probably over a decade ago. And whether it, you know, that report has kept pace with, you know, updates to the system, I would bet not. It's probably completely obsolete.
So-
You know, we've had new buildings come on board. We've had major renovations since that time. You know,
When-
so much has changed.
So
So, you know,
Louisa,
Go ahead, Michelle.
so when we were at one point at a public hearing, we were going to vote on the budget and what was going into our budget. And there was another meeting happening in the city that was already deciding what the capital budget was. And in our budget, we didn't know if we were buying new windows, if we were buying, you know, fixing windows. And the budget, this brings us back again to where we don't know.
Well,
We don't know what our capital projects are even, you
Like
know,
that's-
so I know things are moving, but like, if we are already underwater or having a hard time keeping up, I've been in construction. We're gonna open a new building. They're new, but there are always issues, calibration, water.
I just kind of separate what we're talking about, because I just feel like everything is getting clumped into one. And if it's the district
Yeah.
work order system is one conversation, capital projects are a different conversation.
yeah.
Capital repairs are another conversation. So I mean, there's different conversations happening.
Right.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Okay, I'd like to make a suggestion for consideration for the group, okay? That's similar to the way that we do monthly financial, you know, we update on where we are financially, perhaps on a quarterly basis. The group might consider a review of all of the closed work tickets, right? Or all of the, you know, anything that's a, you know, an outstanding repair, completed projects. And I don't think daily is a good way to go, because then you're really into the minutia of light bulbs and pencil sharpeners.
No one's looking at that, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
I mean, we're
yeah.
talking about, you know, are we making movements in the right
Correct, yes.
direction? What's
Right.
open, what's not, you know?
Yes, yes, I'm trying, yes. And
Simple
so my,
stuff.
right, so my suggestion is to at least look at those on a quarterly basis. And then I would also, you know, as far as the capital improvement, you know, when the group starts off for the year, you know, what has been completed over the summer? We know a lot of things get completed over the summer. You know, little projects that come through, or money that gets released, or grants that come in. And so, you know, maybe the first sites and facilities meeting is kind of a report out on, you know, finding out what the city has, you know, what has been done over the summer. And then I would dedicate a meeting or two to building that capital improvement plan and revisiting that, to that when that capital improvement, when it's time to submit that plan to the city and refresh that the whole group has been talking about it for at least a meeting or two, and like, okay, yep, we all know it's on that list, and then we can kind of see where things. So that's just my suggestion, is to have a standing item, where you have a quarterly update on closed and open items, for the daily stuff that happens in the school district, the weekly, you know, even the medium projects, and then at least twice a year to revisit that capital improvement project list. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, and I think we do that like at the beginning of the year. We usually at our first sites meeting, we do review everything that's been done over the summer. I think Mike, you gave that report.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of that we're doing, but if we want to include that, I just want to make sure that we know that it's,
Well,
we're getting different information. So I think there's two different things that everybody's asking for. So,
Well,
Kate,
Louise,
sorry.
that update came at our first public hearing, and not everything was included, which caused the meeting to be scheduled for Danbury High. I think something happened, but that was the whole reason. It did not get, all of the updates did not come out on that first meeting, and which was to update everyone what was completed over the summer. It didn't even take the form of a sites and facilities meeting. It was at our public hearing. And we did not get all the information. And I'm sitting here and I've been asking, so right in this meeting alone, we clarified that the work order system that we've been waiting for years is finally implemented. And we did not have as big of an issue on our day-to-day. I went and I visited the schools with Lauren a year and a half ago. We went to almost all of them, and the reports coming back consistently, and Mike can attest to it, was we got our everyday, light bulbs and things happening here. It was the next level, which was when we had to involve a plumber, the city plumber, or the city. That is the list that we've been asking for. At one time, we were talking about merging those systems. So if we do not have a system now that's capable of providing that information, I'm simply asking, what system are we putting in place so that we can look at the capital improvements and have a conversation monthly? Hey, okay, those are all there. Guess what? We just added these. We can take this off. Like, that kind of a system is not in place, and that's what I'm asking for. It's information. Thank you.
Kate, did you have a question?
No, I didn't. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, well, we've got to get on to the next agenda item because we do have another meeting at 7 o'clock. So, Mike, I'm going to pass it back over to you.
Okay. So this was actually number 2 on the agenda, but we're taking it as number 3 here. The last item here is a motion to close out some previously completed construction projects. Now, the way these typically work for any of the projects that are receiving state funding, typically 2-year window will go by where they sort of retain the contractor. You have about 2 years to make sure everything worked out, that there were no major problems with the construction. And then you sign off on the project, and then you send it up to the state to basically say, yes, this is all signed off. The work has been completed. So there's 3 projects on here. It's actually 2 projects. It's upgrades to Danbury High School that took place in 2018. And then there are upgrades that took place to Ellsworth Avenue School, which is really the Osborne Annex. And the Osborne Annex was broken into 2 different projects because there was a school portion and then there was an administrative portion where our central registration center is. Because each of those sections gets a different reimbursement, a school gets a different reimbursement rate than a administrative building, they were broken into 2 separate projects. So there's 3 projects here that need to be closed out. The first is the first bullet here, 340146. This is the Danbury High School upgrades. And just to jog everyone's memory, this was funded by DHS 2020 bond that was passed in 2015. This was work that included the roof replacement, emergency generators, expansion of the cafeteria, various site improvements, adding the G building, the black box theater, a new fire alarm system, and sprinklers in A, B, and E. And this construction was completed in 2018 with the retainage that was released to the contractor in 2020, and the total cost of that project was about $49 million. So the second project on this list is the Ellsworth Avenue School addition. This is actually the school portion. This was SNAP 2020 bond that was passed in 2020. The work here included the conversion of BOE registration building, 3 pre-K and 4 kindergarten classrooms with the construction connecting a corridor to the Ellsworth Avenue School. There was a new pre-K kindergarten playground constructed. There were alterations made to the existing Ellsworth play area. That construction was completed in 2022 with the retainage released to the contractor in 2024. The last one is also the Ellsworth Avenue School, which we're calling the Osborne Annex, but this is the Board of Administrative Registration Building, also funded by the SNAP 2020 bond passed in 2020. This work included the creation of the BOE registration and office administrative buildings. One second. BOE registration and school administrative spaces in the second floor as part of the newly renovated annex building. Construction was completed in 2022. Retainage was released to the contractor in 2024. So this project, that section of the project was approximately $300,000. So these are the three projects. Basically, we just need a motion saying that they have all been completed. The motion will then carry up into the full Board of Education meeting on Wednesday. And then we'll be able to sign off on the projects, and Antonio and Dan can then send this up to the state and have these projects closed out. Louisa, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Can I have somebody make a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Do you have it in front of you, Al?
No, I don't.
I could drop it into the chat if that's helpful.
Yeah, if you could do that, Mike, just so we can, somebody
Yep.
can find out. Thank you.
All right, should be in there for whoever wants it.
Can I have somebody from the committee please read the motion?
I'll read the motion.
Thank you.
I make a motion that the Sites and Facilities Committee recommends to the Board of Education to accept the following school construction projects as complete and authorize the superintendent of schools to certify and execute the DAS, and I guess Danbury, what is it, DAS 049F form. Which equals, I guess, project at 034-0146 E/A/RR Danbury High School. The next one is 034-015 E/A Ellsworth Avenue School addition. And the third one is 034-0151 E/E Ellsworth Avenue School Board of Education or Board of Ed Administration registration.
Oh, Al's made the motion. Do I have a second? Okay, I will second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I think we lost the other two committee members. Juanita, are you there?
I am. I'm sorry. I was on mute.
That's okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, I think that's it for the agenda for this evening. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Mike, do we have anything scheduled? Next week?
Let me just check my notes here. So we don't really have anything set on the calendar yet, but we're planning for an April meeting, probably mid-April, mid to late April, where we can meet at DH West and take a look at the new building. That's all tentatively scheduled. We don't really have a date yet, so more on that at a future board meeting, and we'll be sending out notices as that all comes together.
Perfect. Thank you. And again, I want to thank Holly Robinson and Irving Fox for joining us this evening. And I look forward to seeing them at the next ad hoc. If nobody else has anything to say, Kara, do you have anything you want to say before we close up?
No, I appreciate everybody's time tonight. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Can I have a motion to adjourn real quick? Motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Can I have a Thank you.